Happy Christmas. I'm saying Happy Christmas with my red mask on, my COVID mask. It seems like a contradiction, doesn't it? Happy Christmas, mask. You can't see faces as much, but it's a fact of life. And somewhere else in the world, there's so many people besides us who have to wear these masks, and some of them are on ventilators and some may not last very long. But I still want you to have a happy Christmas. And here is part of my Christmas paraphernalia. I've got just some lovely little pink and red lights. I've got this little tree. It's not a great big tree. I'm trying to dress up in a Christmas way, and I even got a red mask that I can wash. And I have my computer that I can send greetings by email, messages. So I really hope it's a happy Christmas. What makes a happy Christmas? I want to tell you a story of a Christmas long ago for me that was both horrifying and became a very happy Christmas. We lived in a farmlet in the bush in Queensland, and I was not quite 6, and our neighbours were farmers and some were building their houses. All of us had a little area of bush, and it was really a rather wonderful life, and we had enough land to have a horse, 2 horses, and I really wanted a horse. We'd had a horse briefly, but it was a big draft horse, a workhorse that would pull a plough to get the land all ready for growing things. And that horse had finished its days, and I just wanted a horse I could ride. The neighbours had 2 beautiful horses, and I dreamed of them being mine. And that was what I'd asked my parents to tell Santa. I wanted a horse. Now, I had a list of other things, but at the top of everything was the horse. Well, where I slept was right next to an open window. And it was like a shuttered window, so that it had wooden shutters, but you push them out, and there I was open to the farm. And the window came just that much above where I was sleeping. And I went off to sleep, knowing that Santa would be there with all my presents while I slept. But something strange happened that night. I started having the worst nightmare ever. I dreamed that a horse had chased me and was eating me up. And I couldn't do anything. I was trying to call out for my mother to come and help me, to save me being eaten by this horse, the horse that I dreamed that I would have for a Christmas present. And suddenly I woke up screaming, and a big head right above me jumped back just for a couple of seconds, and then moved in on this most terrified person, which was me, and started licking my face again. The neighbour's horse had seen a little light in our house and had come on over through a couple of fences, and right there saw me and thought, here's a nice person to lick and wake up. And it had been licking my face, both sides of my face. Everyone in the house came running, and they laughed, and the horse just looked a bit mystified. And it took me a long time to recover from that terrible dream, which was just all about a horse licking my face. I've never forgotten that Christmas. And you know what I got? My best present was a pop rifle. So when you pulled the trigger, a cork would pop out. I was so happy with that. I never did get the horse for a gift. Why I tell you that story is, I just remember all my family gathered around the bed, sort of laughing at my nightmare, but glad I was okay, and glad for the horse, that it wasn't some monster, but just a friendly neighbour's animal. I wonder what makes us happy. I know some memories make us happy, and some others make us very sad. Well, I want Pauline's Place, this little program we've put together, to uplift you. It mightn't make you super joyful, but I think it will give you strength. And that's my prayer for you, to have strength and courage. And sometimes that comes from thinking about others just a bit more than ourselves, because often when we think about ourselves, we just think about some of the hard things. So have a look at this. Stan, my best friend, my husband, he's got a story to share with you, and he's part of our little Christmas just where we're living.
Hey, it's Christmas time. I wonder how this Christmas is for you. I can tell you that our Christmas is unlike any we've ever had. But I've already had my Christmas cracker, that is Christmas excitement, and it happened in Freiburg Square in the centre of Auckland. Have a look at this. In the Ellen Melville Centre on Freiburg Place on Thursday the 16th. Almost miraculously, we assembled an orchestra of 17 players, and there at between 4 and 5 in the afternoon, they played and we sang carols. Now, how this happened is really via Robert. Robert's one of our members of our little fellowship group, and he is also the conductor of the Glendowie High School Orchestra, and he does so with enormous enthusiasm. As I make this, there are 100 container vessels off the coast of California. Some of them been there a very long time, and some of them will stay there for months. They are loaded with Christmas presents. Now, that's not all they're loaded with, but that's one of the main things they're loaded with, because we Christian people in Christian countries like to make a big thing of Christmas and decorate and give, and lots of the gifts we give to our children and to others aren't very substantial, and they become part of the throwaway of the world. It's ironic in a way, because this whole Christmas spend up, biggest spend up in the world, the biggest spend up in history, is because a young girl in difficult circumstances became pregnant, and she gave birth in an animal shed. This is similar to what is happening now for thousands of women in thousands of refugee camps in all kinds of difficult places in the world. And it was, according to the scriptures, the way God was showing that he's on the side of the poor, and that he understands their condition, and that out of this condition will come hope for the whole world. And so you'd think that this time of remembering would not be a time of excess, but a time of giving, a time of helping those who are in trouble. Doesn't seem to work like that. As we surround ourselves with more and more things, and the container ships wait off the ports in many countries, waiting to bring Christmas decorations and fairly insubstantial toys or other things which we just need to clutter our houses with to celebrate this birth of a refugee woman in a stable, in an animal shed. How ironic. Here's a little offering. I met a man and we had a great conversation. I will share it with you. I met a man the same age as me. He told me that in a few years he would die, and so would I. He was nervous about dying. I said, I am not. He was a successful businessman and had multi-million-dollar assets. But so what, he said. My wonderful wife now has Alzheimer's, and I will die soon. How about you? He asked. I thought he was inquiring about my business life. I said, except for the kindness of a friend, I'm homeless. He asked, what was your work? I said, for 50 years I was a minister. Incredulous, he asked me to list the churches I served, and I did. I'm a Christian, he said, but I can't bear to go to church except on Christmas Day to please my relatives. I think there's something wrong with religious organizations. They don't seem to match the God of the Bible or Jesus. I said, I agree. He asked, how can you say that? You spent your whole life working for them, and now you don't believe in them? Don't you regret that? I replied, I still believe in Jesus. It's the church organizations I can't stand. Same with me, he replied. I talked about how churches want to own Jesus. They want to copyright him and put him in their box, I said. He was puzzled. I said, this world we live in is a miracle. It's spiritual. Everything has a spiritual component. He didn't quite get it. Young people don't go to church, but many of them are searching for the spiritual. He muttered, yoga, mindfulness, meditation. What is that? Some of them can sense that this world is more than they can see and touch, I replied. He was not convinced. But we are going to die soon, and that makes me anxious, he said. I replied, my sense is there is nothing to be afraid of. The spirit that brought the universe into being is love, and that's ahead of us. He was skeptical. Good to chat, he said. I agreed. We exchanged a handshake. Maybe we will talk again.
Hi everyone, this has been a crazy year, but Christmas is now here, so I wish you and your families a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This last reading is quite a popular poem about the life of Jesus Christ. Although the author is frequently cited as unknown, the poem is actually attributed to James Allan Francis. It is called One Solitary Life. He was born in an obscure village, the child of a peasant. He grew up in another village, where he worked in a carpenter's shop until he was 30. Then, for 3 years, he was an itinerant preacher. He never wrote a book, He never held an office. He never had a family or owned a home. He didn't go to college. He never lived in a big city. He never travelled 200 miles from the place where he was born. He did none of the things that usually accompany greatness. He had no credentials but himself. He was only 33 when the tide of public opinion turned against him. His friends ran away. One of them denied him. He was turned over to his enemies and went through the mockery of a trial. He was nailed to a cross between two thieves. While he was dying, his executioners gambled for his garments, the only property he had on earth. When he was dead, he was laid in a burrowed grave through the pity of a friend. 20 centuries have come and gone, and today he is the central figure of the human race. I am well within the mark when I say that all the armies that ever marched, all the navies that ever sailed, all the parliaments that ever sat, all the kings and queens that ever reigned, put together, have not affected the life of humanity on this earth as much as that one solitary life. Merry Christmas, everybody.
My Christmas prayer. God, hear my prayer. I pray for my family, myself, for my friends, and for my community. Thank you for the Christmas story. We all need the Spirit of Jesus to come again this Christmas and to guide our new year. We need the hope of His Spirit to be channels of peace, to bring calm and courage to hatred and bitterness and anger, to bring light and listening to depression and sadness, to be forgiving when the memories hurt and bring anguish, to never give up believing in a better future in the face of despair, to never stop wanting to make a better difference wherever we are, to never stop loving. Hear my prayer, Jesus. Help me start today. I pray for this planet, every country and every hurting part. I dream that your Spirit might intervene to heal the world of the pandemic, to bring us closer in harmony of purpose, that together we might heal the hunger for power, the suspicion and fear and terrible suffering of innocent people. The greed and its destruction might fade, that our armies and weapons become agents of renewing and refreshing our beautiful planet. Whatever the future, help me to work for excellence and to love my neighbor who has different backgrounds, opinions, different history beliefs, yet the same heart and hopes. Thank you for Christmas, for hope and your love. Amen.
God be with you in your spirit. God be with you as you live. God shares the pain and the strife and brings meaning to your life and all those you touch.